Well, Nick had his interview with Jeffrey Lurie today, and nothing happened so far as we all know. No leaks, no rumors, no nothing. There was one little bit of information that came out, but really isn't showing much of anything. And there is a defensive coordinator that the Eagles can be really high on right now. And this defensive coordinator was on a podcast and talked about the Philadelphia Eagles defensive miscues and their bad tackling. And we're going to talk about the Eagles cap space and all that stuff. So let's do it.
Because I've seen enough horror movies to know any weirdo wearing a mask is never friendly.
Yeah, what is going on, guys? I hope everyone's having a fantastic day today. So I know everyone is very impatient right now trying to figure out what's going on with this coaching staff. Is Nick staying? Is Nick going? Nick had his interview with Jeffrey Lurie, and the one bit of news that only came out today was that the meeting was over an hour long. That is it. That's all we heard. Good thing, bad thing, I don't know. Maybe something did happen to Nick. Maybe the decision has already been made, but no leaks have come out from third parties, or officially it hasn't been out for from the Philadelphia Eagles. So we're just gonna have to sit tight. But let's just say as of right now that Nick is going to be staying. And for what I think is going to happen, I have a feeling he is going to stay. But there's got to be rules and guidelines involved where Nick has to keep his hands off everything. Let his coordinators be coordinators. Let them do their thing. The one thing the Eagles can't do all the time is if a coach has a really bad year, they can't just start clean house the whole entire operation. That's the one thing they can't do. I know like Nick's been pissing us off this year, and trust me, like I don't know if they keep him, I'll be upset over it. But at the same time, like as long as the rule is he keeps his hands off of the playbooks, I don't even care. But like I said this in many videos, like if Nick's not going to help out with game plan or anything like that, then what is he here to really do? What is his MO of being a head coach? Just a cheerleader, just a player's coach, just a motivational speaker? I mean, I don't see much worth in him. Besides, maybe when the Eagles are winning, he knows how to, he has players that believe in him. But the way this roster has been the last 7 weeks, and the way that, besides the vets that say great things about him, I don't think a lot of this roster likes the way they do things. And I think they have to change the way they draft. They have to change the way they go into the off-season programs, especially preseason. Especially, they might have to add more weeks of practice and get minicamp back into the game because they're taking way too much time off. They're not around their coordinators that much since they had 2 brand new coordinators this year, this offseason. A lot of the guys weren't really gelling together too much. So, there's a lot that involves everything that needs to change. So if Nick stays, there's got to be some type of ultimatum, or not really an ultimatum, but at least he is designated by rules to not be involved in everything and get out of Nick's comfort zone and hire brand new coordinators and come up with a big game plan for the future. And I think Jeffrey Lurie is very serious about it, and I'm really happy that he is. You know what I mean? If Nick comes back, as long as he's not handling the playbook, I don't care. But if he comes back, and trust me, we'll notice who they hire. We'll notice if they hire people that are not going to be, we know that they don't have a good reputation. We know that they're not old school coaches. We know that we know that they're definitely not going to have their own offense. I'll be shocked really not shocked if, Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman keep letting this thing roll on. But like I said, when it comes down to a bad year by a head coach, you don't want to, I know, like, look, at the end of the day, things need to change. But if the Eagles hit a roadblock, we can't just fire everybody. And like, I want to fire both coordinators because, I mean, these are Nick's. Nick promoted Brian Johnson from Shane's, next to Shane Steichen, okay? And Nick hired Sean Desai. These are Nick's hirings. These aren't Howie's hirings. So Jeffrey Lurie is going to decide whether these are going to be good hires or not Nick. And if that's the case where Jeffrey Lurie has more control in that aspect of hiring, not just taking Frank Reich word for it and saying, oh yeah, hire this guy, I think he'll do really good for you. It's going to be one of those, a big change in, an adjustment to the play calling and letting these coordinators just coach up their own scheme and let them take the blame if it fails at the end of the day. So this could be going in the right direction, whether Nick leaves or he stays. We'll see what happens by that time. Now, a defensive coordinator for the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm kind of going to go back and forth now. There's a defensive coordinator out there. Now, this was from the Zach Gelb Show, a podcast, okay? Now, Greg Williams, that hasn't coached since 2020, since the Cleveland Browns, okay? Or really not the Cleveland Browns, really since the New York Jets by that time. And Greg Williams has been around the league a long time, okay? And he was on this podcast, and he said, hey, could the Eagles have a lot of interest in you? How would you handle the Philadelphia Eagles as of right now? He talked about the tackling. He talked about how to use players to their strengths. This was actually really amazing, too. It was a little skit that happened, and I kind of want to put this up and share it with you guys. So definitely check this out, because I think it's really, really cool.
One city that maybe you should make a stop in is Philadelphia to potentially be their defensive coordinator. Would that still interest you, being a DC in the NFL again?
Oh, yeah, and I'm going to do that. I've had opportunities. There's quite a few people, a lot of people, reaching out to me right now. And with the right people, the right situation, yes, I am going to get back in it.
How would you try to fix the Eagles' defense right now?
Here's what I would say. I saw them have a defensive structure on what they know, not what players could play. Each and every stop that I've been at, I've had to change the structure of what we're doing defensively to fit the players that are playing. And if you don't think, you got to change to protect those guys within a game, whether it's a game plan or whatever. And those are the things I've been able to do now that I've coached 2,500 NFL players. And over 1,000 of them call me on Father's Days every year, so I must not be as big a prick as everybody says I am.
Absolutely love that. It's also the tackling in Philly. I've never seen.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, go ahead.
Hey,
it was terrible.
You better not have a sound. I'm at my son's house up in Cleveland area, and they got to take the grandkids and everything out of the house because they hear me in the basement screaming and yelling at poor tackling and drop passes. Nothing more pisses me off than when I see a poor tackling individual or a person who can't catch the ball. And I tell the guys all the time, it's now time for you to go up and sell beer in the stands because you can't play.
So there it is. I mean, at least we're hearing from another defensive coordinator, if he was the defensive coordinator, how he would fix things here. And he's had a few phone calls, and it wouldn't shock me if Philadelphia was in the ballpark, for his services. You know what I mean? Talked about using players to their strengths, making adjustments to the players. And, literally, all he said was pretty much the Eagles defense runs things how they know how to run things. Don't make the proper adjustments. He's disgusted by bad tackling, and he'll throw you off the field for it. And that's, I think, a guy that we need in the building for a few years. We need somebody here that's going to be aggressive. And I understand that 100%. It's just nice it's so refreshing to hear another coach talk about the Eagles. Not a rumor, not this ex-defensive coordinator said this. We're actually seeing a name. We're hearing a voice. And to hear that is pretty damn cool. So really, with the Jets in 2019 when he was hired by, as the defensive coordinator, okay, now he had the 7th best defense in the league, ranked 7th, and he was second against the run, which was pretty good. He was fired by the New York Jets. It was after the game, the Hail Mary. He did a cover 0 blitz on a Hail Mary to Henry Ruggs in the end zone, and I think that was the game that could have got them into the playoffs. I'm not sure. I think there was playoff implications on there where if they won that game, I think they got into the playoffs, and Derek Carr threw to Henry Ruggs. And that was it. He got fired right after that game. So it's been, 3 years. It's been 3.5 years so far since he hasn't been around at this point. So, like I said, I think this would be a good opportunity for him to kind of revive his career. And he's an old school coach, you know what I mean? And he's very aggressive, and we got to pick somebody. I mean, we can't get picky about it. we would rather have somebody that has a resume than no resume at all. That's just some assistant that comes here to call Nick's defense or Sean Desai's defense. That Matt Patricia was going to take over his defense, which this isn't. This was Nick's defense. This wasn't Sean Desai's. This wasn't Matt Patricia's. This was all Nick at the end of the day. And the one thing I love to hear from Greg Williams was, just making changes. And, that's been the biggest problem. Like, I think every player has been underutilized, whether it's offense or defense, and especially the offense. We won't get into that because this is surely just the defensive side of the ball. So that's been a big problem, and I think, we'll just have to see what the game plan is. And there hasn't been no official interview by the Eagles yet because I don't think they've done anything with Nick yet. I mean, they might have. It just hasn't been reported, but I haven't seen no reports that the Eagles are going to interview, blah, 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 coming to the NovaCare complex. Nothing has happened yet. Of course, like, I wouldn't mind Wink Martindale, Leslie Frazier's another one that's had a couple interviews already. Ron Rivera, I haven't heard much on him at all. I kind of pass on him, to be honest, at this point. I'd probably want Greg Williams over him, to be honest with you. But I think it would be a really good hiring, and it's interesting to see what Nick brings to the table, and if he stays, then who are they going to hire? And I think Greg Williams would definitely be a top candidate, in my opinion, as a tough coach, as a coach that's going to push the players, and the scheme is not going to. The scheme is not going to be above the players. The scheme, it's literally, the scheme is flawed every position. Our defensive line has hit a wall. You put your best pass rushers in pass coverage. I mean, your corners are playing 8 to 10 yards off the ball. Why are you drafting defensive tackles in the first round if you're not going to move your corners up? I mean, you're not. I mean, why are you paying Darius Slay? Why are you paying James Bradbury if you're not playing them more on the ball? I mean, getting them a little closer to the line. I don't know. I mean, I just don't get why they did that the whole year, and they stuck with it. As much as Desai was the better coach, I guess at the end of the day, because he only gave up 22 points a game to Matt Patricia's 27. It's not to give Desai a medal or anything like that, but it's just interesting. So I liked his words. I liked hearing just from a different point of view, a different set of eyes, looking at the Philadelphia Eagles. And I thought that was really, really cool. Now, cap space for the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, this is very interesting. So the Eagles have about $28 million in cap space. I said like 28 to 30 million, 29 million, something like that. So $28 million in cap space. Now, Kevin Byard still has another year left with the Philadelphia Eagles. So if the Eagles flat out release Byard, if they cut him, the Eagles will get like 13 million in cap space. No joke. I went over the numbers, and I think that's what the number is as of right now. So they'll free up about 13, and they'll have about $41 million going into March free agency, which is that's some pretty good money right there. It's not bad. And the Eagles can actually do more moves and probably create some more cap space. So I think theoretically, the Eagles can have like $53 to like $60 million going into free agency if they make a couple more moves. I mean, it's a nice chunk of money to have in case you don't want to go after a certain position in the draft. You want to get a guy in here long term, whether it's somebody young, whether you want to trade for a corner, whether you have 2 second rounds, you have a first round pick. So there are options that you have. Now, if they want to extend Byard, and look, this is just an example. Oh, Byard sucked. Yes. Byard, none of these players look good. None of them did. We couldn't cover tight ends. Byard was usually stuck on the tight end almost 100% of the time. He didn't really do a good job. He got to the team. We traded for him. It was like 5th and 6th round picks. Terrell Edmonds was traded to Tennessee. And then we got him on the team, and he really didn't do much. It took him a while. He had that one pick in the Kansas City game. I mean, look, he's 30 years old now. You know what I mean? I wouldn't, if you want to play him for like one more, I don't know. I mean, it's really up to them what they want to do. I don't know if you want to extend him for a 3-year contract or something like that. Safeties could play into their mid-30s, if they're good enough to. If they're put into the right scheme and stay healthy, would be nice. But unfortunately, guys, like, you got no Justin Evans is a free agent now. He was out for the whole year with mostly he barely even played this year, knee injury. Sidney Brown has a torn ACL, which really sucks. He's going to be out probably until next October, probably a month and a half to 2 months into next season, so he won't be back. Reed Blankenship is a primary starter, but I know people have been fighting me over Reed Blankenship. I think the Eagles can do better at that position because I just feel like Reed just can't cover it all, and if you have to put it all on him, I don't think he could do it from a coverage standpoint. Yes, he's a hard hitter. Yes, I get it. His physicality is great. He's more of a contact safety. I get it. But I think Reed Blankenship deserves a roster spot, no doubt, if they do 3 safety sets or do some different things like that as a pure backup that could take over for a game or two, whatever. I'm fine with that. But as a prime starter candidate, not sure if he's really going to be in the plans for the future. Maybe, like I said, he's definitely going to be on the team as a backup. There's no doubt. But the Eagles are empty at that position. And if they want to keep Byard and they feel like this new defensive coordinator that comes in is going to make everybody better and actually have production and actually get interceptions and get turnovers and get a whole bunch of shit. I mean, I don't know how many sacks the Eagles had for the year. 38, 40, 41? I don't know. You know what I mean? Not saying they'll get back to 70 sacks like they did last year, but that's how. When you have those sack numbers like that, your cornerbacks are looking way better. Bradbury looked better last year because of the sack record, because of how much the defensive line was getting after it. And not blitzing as much and relying on your 4 guys up front, and you can still get pressure is a nice thing to see. It was a generational number last year that we had with the sack number last year. So, and just, statistics in general. So realistically, yes, you can have about $41 million in cap space, which the Eagles are never in that area of $41 million. They're never in the area of over 30, really. Maybe a little bit over 30. And that's really not a lot of money because you have to remember you have to sign your draft picks. You have to save money. $10 million for the draft, probably. I don't know what the regular number is for the draft. It's probably $10 to $12 million. So you need to have that. But to have some of that extra cap flow in case they don't want to go after somebody in the draft, and they can maneuver for, oh man, we could trade for this player, or maybe there's a free agent out there they want to pay. I don't know. I mean, I don't think they're going to go after big, crazy free agents. And I'm not touching the safety. I don't know if I'll touch a safety position at a top-tier contract, and definitely not a cornerback at a top-tier contract. You know what I mean? So Bradbury could be on the books. They could save money. I mean, there's some contract with Mulata that they moved some money around for this year, so potentially they can get past $40 million. They can make a couple more trades. Avonte Maddox, Darius Slay, if they want to do that. James Bradbury, if they extend him, eat up his money and maybe trade him or cut him. I don't know. We'll see what happens there, but I think Eagles will have some good cap going to the offseason, a lot better than we normally do, which is a great thing. So, could cover up a position they don't want to go in the draft and kind of want to cover that up. So that's what you usually use free agency for. Don't build your draft. Don't build your team through free agency because it's just going to bite you in the end. Yes, Howie Roseman has done the 1-year deal thing with mid to low, barely even mid-tier players, and sometimes that's hit or miss. But we'll see. And lastly, TJ Edwards. The last few days have been kind of crazy. Apparently, there was all these rumors coming out that Edwards, that Roseman didn't even offer TJ Edwards a contract. He goes back to his hometown in Chicago and just plays lights out. Because I know, beginning of the season to the middle of the season, I know that the Bears fired their defensive coordinator and they played really good. With TJ Edwards, you had Montez Sweat there. And, I mean, it's just crazy. I mean, TJ Edwards having such a great year. We've talked about linebackers nonstop. And yes, the Eagles need to change their ways of drafting. And hence why getting a defensive coordinator in the building and what the Eagles need, it might change the way the Eagles draft. And I don't care. I mean, it's going to change. You have Nakobe Dean that was out almost the entire year this year. Okay, he was on IR. He was hurt 3 times, on IR 2 times for the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm off the Nakobe Dean bandwagon until I see him actually stay healthy and has some availability for us, because having no availability isn't doing much for us right now. And Zach Cunningham's a free agent. Nicholas Morrow, stay the hell away from this team. That was one of the worst signings we had. Didn't think you'd play that bad, but damn. But like I said, defensive coordinators that we had, setting up our linebackers to fail and putting our guys on running backs I mean, just couldn't get the job done. Never playing these linebackers downhill, barely blitzing. These guys don't know how to blitz, don't know how to be aggressive. It was an absolute joke. I think TJ Edwards has been one of the biggest drops that we had. Chauncey was the biggest drop this past year, and I think Edwards has become one of the biggest misses that we should have re-signed him for. And it was it was an expensive contract. I mean, 3 years, $19.5 million. That's nothing. You know what I mean? So he got a little bit of some extra money, but nothing the Eagles couldn't handle. But the MO to the Eagles is they don't re-sign linebackers. They don't pay linebackers, I guess, big money. I wouldn't even call that big money, Just like they don't draft running backs high. They don't draft linebackers high. They don't re-sign running backs. They don't re-sign linebackers. Yeah, they re-signed Edwards for like 2 years the last time he was here. I mean, we saw what TJ Edwards was as an undrafted free agent, and the glimpses that we saw when Jim Schwartz was here, and Jim Schwartz just never played him. Never played him. And I knew that something was going to be good with him. Just misused like everybody else. So you're completely empty at linebacker. You're completely empty. You have nobody. And you really have to. I don't care. You go into the draft. They have to. I don't care if it's to a second round pick. You have to figure something out. You can't just go out, dip in the free agency, dip into the free agent pool on these low tier linebackers that won't do a fucking thing for us. And this is what they're going to have to deal with. And linebacker's the most empty position right now. Most empty, and safety is next, and then corner needs to get revamped. So, lot going on here, but hopefully they do fix that situation, because we are in dire need of like another Micah Parsons, where I don't know. We need a hunter at linebacker. We need a field general. We need something for the future. We have nothing right now. So other than that, guys, that's pretty much it. That was my update on the meeting between Nick and Jeffrey Lurie. Nothing's happened yet. We talked about Greg Williams as defensive coordinator, what he said about the Eagles, which I really did like. We talked about the other defensive coordinators that are available, the cap space with the Philadelphia Eagles, and obviously the TJ Edwards report. How we not giving him a contract, whether it's real. I heard it's BS. I heard it's, let me know what you guys think about it. I don't know. I could probably say he probably didn't, just because, I don't know. Probably not, because they don't like paying linebackers. I mean, I don't know, but I could be wrong. Maybe it is a false accusation report. But you guys enjoy the rest of your day. For more Eagles news, definitely subscribe to the channel, like the video. Appreciate it so much from everybody that's been supporting. And I will see you guys on the next one. Shakes what up, follow slide. Peace out, guys. Peace.